Hello and welcome. I'm Maria Ressa. In many ways, 2015 had it all. There were moments of defeat, shocking losses, and historic triumphs. The Catholic Church's leader visits the Philippines and inspires hope, while a homegrown church facing corruption charges and internal fighting shut down a main highway in a show of force. Once again, we see the power of technology harness compassion into action and hate into destruction. We see the power of love break the internet and the power of hate break families apart. And in 2015, the country's favorite telenovela, the election season, begins. "2015 begins with the visit of Pope Francis. The government declares a holiday as Catholics and non-Catholics go out to see the charismatic pontiff. He meets with the victims of Super Typhoon Yolanda in Leyte. It's the first time a pope visits the Philippines in 2 decades. He leaves behind a message of compassion and service. The dominant mood during Pope Francis's visit? Most people were inspired. In July, Iglesia ni Cristo's Angel Manalo, the brother of INC head Eduardo, claims his life was in danger for speaking against corruption within the church. There were also allegations of INC ministers being kidnapped. Not long after, Angel is expelled from the church together with his mother and others.
Kaya sinasabi natin, separation of church and state!
A month later, INC mobilizes its members in a show of force on EDSA to push the government to stop investigating INC leaders over a former minister's illegal detention complaint. The prevailing mood for the INC controversy? Most people were angry. A January 25 operation to kill a terrorist turns into a day of outrage and sorrow after a firefight between government troops and Muslim rebels ends with a tragic body count. An operation by the Philippine National Police's Special Action Force to neutralize terrorists Zulkifli Benhir, aka Marwan, and Abdul Basit Usman ends in tragedy that impacts the peace process. 44 SAF troopers die in an encounter with Muslim rebels in Mamasapano, Maguindanao. Also dead, 18 members of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front and at least 7 civilians. Both the government and the MILF call it a misencounter, but the disparity in the number of dead from both sides bring charges of possible overkill against the MILF. The fiasco triggers anti-Muslim sentiment, sparking a heated debate about the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law. That fails to pass in Congress this year. The recurring mood for the Mamasapano tragedy? Most people were angry and sad. Social media continues to prove its power to move people. Mary Jane Veloso, a Filipina on death row in Indonesia for drug trafficking, gets a stay of execution after a last-minute plea from the Philippine government. Hashtag Save Mary Jane trends on Twitter as Filipinos and Indonesians push for a belated review. President Benigno Aquino calls President Joko Widodo. Miraculously, the Indonesian government delays Mary Jane's execution at the last hour. Hashtag Save Mary Jane becomes hashtag Mary Jane Lives. The recurring mood for hashtag Save Mary Jane? Most people were happy. After half a decade of bickering, the world's top boxers finally meet in the ring. An accidental meeting at a Miami Heat game sets off a series of events that culminate in the fight of the century. Boxing superstars Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather exchange phone numbers and agree to talk. It took 5 years, but boxing's pound-for-pound best fighters face each other in the ring in May. 12 rounds later, Mayweather defeats Pacquiao in a unanimous decision to prove he's the best boxer in the world. After the fight, Pacquiao claims he was sabotaged when the Nevada Athletic Commission refused his request to use a numbing agent for his shoulder injured during training.
Pagka mag-recover siya, okay lang. Ang usapan namin okay lang, hindi na muna gamitin. Tapos sa araw ng laban, sa gabi ng laban, i-injectionan lang siya ng yung pangnam.
Yeah.
Hindi siya steroid pero legal dito 'yon, pangnam. Ang problema, nasabotahe tayo.
The recurring mood for the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, most people were happy before the fight and later sad. The social media phenomenon Aldub takes the world by storm in the middle of 2015. Who would have thought the love team would break the internet so many times? It started as a spontaneous storyline in a segment on the noontime show Eat Bulaga. Aldub, short for the TV love team of Alden Richards and Maine Mendoza's character Yaya Dub, consistently tops Twitter trending charts week after week. Twitter calls Aldub a global phenomenon. Hashtag AldubEB Tamang Panahon sets a new Twitter record with 41 million tweets in 24 hours. Her enormous popularity also made Maine Mendoza at one point the world's third fastest-growing Twitter account. The mood for Aldub, most people were happy. Miss Philippines Pia Wurtzbach wins Miss Universe 2015 in December. Host Steve Harvey announces Miss Colombia Ariadna Gutierrez as the winner, but in a stunning reversal, he admits he made a mistake. Wurtzbach's victory is the first time the Philippines wins the Miss Universe title in 42 years. Wurtzbach becomes just the third Filipina to win the Miss Universe title after Gloria Diaz and Margie Moran. The mood for Miss Universe? Most people were happy. As much as social media has been used for good in 2015, it's also been used to foster hate and terror by ISIS. A wave of coordinated attacks in Paris in November left more than 120 people dead and 180 injured. Terrorists fired at people watching a concert while others blew themselves up outside a stadium where French President François Hollande was watching a football match. ISIS claims the attacks. Mood meter? Most people were angry. In 2010, Benigno Aquino won the Philippine presidency on an anti-corruption platform. What will it take for his successor to win? A year before the elections, candidates scrambled to gain support in what may be one of the tightest presidential races in recent history. You can choose between 5 candidates: Vice President Jejomar Binay, Davao City Mayor Rudy Duterte, Senators Grace Poe and Miriam Defensor-Santiago, and Administration Standard Bearer Mar Rojas. Binay saw his early lead in the preferential polls eroded by corruption charges. Poe emerged as the next frontrunner, but she's dragged down by several issues. Is she a natural-born Filipino citizen? Is she a U.S. citizen? And does she have the residency requirement? Rojas's numbers go up after the endorsement of President Aquino. Duterte, whose supporters clamored for him to run, steadily climbs up the surveys. Santiago is a distant fifth with health issues hounding her candidacy. Mood meter? Most people were annoyed and angry. We bounced from one end of the spectrum to the other, from stories of tragedy and loss to stories of hope and victory. As we leave 2015 behind, Rappler will be with you to try to make sense of this quickly changing world. I'm Maria Ressa. Thank you for joining us in 2015, and we're looking forward to what 2016 has in store for us. Happy New Year!